Coming up on this Tuesday edition of Daybreak, forensic teams are conducting DNA tests on the body of a man believed to be Yoo Byung-eun, the fugitive owner of the sunken Sewol-ho ferry. The body was found last month in Korea's southern Jeollanam-do province. The UN Security Council adopts a resolution condemning the downing of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17. It also demands full and unrestricted access to the crash site in rebel-held eastern Ukraine. Plus, 5 are killed and scores injured after an Israeli strike hits a hospital in Gaza. The Palestinian death toll from the Israeli offensive has now surpassed 500. Daybreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Tuesday, July 22nd here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom and you're tuned in to Daybreak. Our top story this morning: the suspected owner of the mismanaged ferry that sank in April, leaving more than 300 passengers dead or missing, is believed to have been found dead. Authorities say DNA extracted from a body found in a field in Korea's southwestern city of Suncheon last month matched that of 73-year-old Yoo Byung-eun, the former head of Semo Group, which is the predecessor of the Sewol-ho ferry operator. DNA from the dead body also had similarities to that of Yoo's brother Byung-il. The prosecution, meanwhile, is waiting for the final forensic results. While authorities still don't know when or how the man died, they found bottles of alcohol near the badly decomposed body. Unaware of Yoo Byung-eun's whereabouts, prosecutors renewed a 6-month arrest warrant for Yoo earlier this week. We'll keep you updated on this developing story throughout the day. Now, lawmakers opened a month-long extraordinary session on Monday with one main goal in mind: passing a bill aimed at determining what caused the ferry disaster in April. Our Ji Myung-il reports.
The ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy agreed Monday to relaunch a task force whose sole responsibility will be ironing out a special bill aimed at determining the cause of April's ferry disaster. The legislation calls for the creation of a parliamentary inspection team and outlines measures to provide compensation for the families of the victims, some of whom have been on a hunger strike since last week, demanding that the bill be passed by this Thursday. For that to happen, the nation's two main political parties will first have to resolve their differences. The main opposition party wants a special judicial police officer appointed to the parliamentary inspection team to ensure the effectiveness of the investigation. The ruling party has raised concerns about the idea, saying it could disturb judicial order and the division of powers prescribed by Korea's constitution.
Our party has made new proposals to the ruling party, as it's been saying that appointing the judicial officer disturbs the judicial order, but regardless, a plenary session must open on the 24th.
The proposals given by the main opposition party could affect Korea's judicial order. We must get consent from the people. This is not a matter to be decided by a few.
The ruling party has instead proposed appointing a special prosecutor to conduct investigations at the request of the inspection team. The unified main opposition has accused the ruling party of trying to block passage of the special bill, while the ruling party is blaming the main opposition for playing politics with the issue heading into the July 30th by-elections, where 15 parliamentary seats will be decided. Ji Myung-il, Arirang News.
Now, the United Nations Security Council has unanimously adopted a resolution condemning last week's downing of a Malaysia Airlines plane in eastern Ukraine, which killed all 298 on board. And they also called for an international probe into the crash. The Australia-led resolution also urged armed groups to allow safe and unrestricted access to the crash site and an end to military activities between the Ukrainian government and pro-Russian separatists in the region. Now, amid mounting pressure from the US and other Western nations over its suspected aiding of pro-Russian rebels thought to be behind the downing of the plane, Russia also voted in favour of the resolution after some revisions were made to it. On Tuesday, EU foreign ministers are set to discuss imposing additional sanctions on Russia. Now, forensic experts in the Netherlands have begun inspecting the remains of the victims recovered by pro-Russian separatists from that awful plane crash, and they of course are the very ones suspected of shooting that plane down last Thursday. The plane's black box, on the other hand, remains securely in the separatist control. Our Paulie reports.
A spokesperson for the Dutch government press service said the latest conversation between Prime Minister Mark Rutte and Russian President Vladimir Putin focused on practical matters, including the handling over of the black boxes that were seen being retrieved from the crash site. The spokesperson said Putin vowed his full cooperation in handling the case, as well as allowing unrestricted access to the site. The Prime Minister of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic, Alexander Borodai, said they were ready to hand the black box to the International Civil Aviation Organization.
We are keeping the black box in Donetsk. We are waiting for international civil aviation representatives to arrive.
Experts from the Dutch National Forensic Investigation Team were given access to inspect the remains of the passengers and crew, which were loaded onto a train near the town of Therese. The Dutch investigators demanded from the pro-Russian rebels that the heavily guarded train cars be sealed and allowed to leave within hours. Emergency workers were able to recover 21 more bodies on Monday in and around the crash site, with 16 victims still unaccounted for, according to Ukraine's prime minister. A total of 298 people who came from 11 countries were killed when Flight MH17 was shot out of the sky last week. Western leaders are urging Putin to take serious actions in helping international rescuers bring the bodies home. Secretary of State John Kerry said the U.S. knows with confidence that Ukraine did not have a weapon capable of downing a jet and that the alleged missile system had been transferred from Russia. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
Now, back here on the Korean Peninsula, because in recent weeks, North Korea has started swinging from provocation to concession and then back to provocation again. The latest includes a threat of retaliation against Seoul and Washington for their rebukes of Pyongyang's recent missile tests. The North claims the missile launches are a sovereign right. South Korea says that's nonsense. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
South Korea's defense ministry has slammed the North's claim that its missile launches are exercises of legitimate sovereignty. In a regular briefing Monday, Defense Ministry spokesman Kim Min-seok said the firing of ballistic missiles without navigational warning is being discussed at the UN Security Council as an inhuman act and that the issue is subject to international condemnation. Earlier, North Korea's powerful National Defense Commission gave Seoul and Washington an ultimatum, saying their isolating policies towards Pyongyang would be met with retaliation. Citing its recent proposals to Seoul that the two sides refrain from slandering each other, the commission said that it had done everything possible to improve inter-Korean ties and that the time had come for a final decision. The North has also flip-flopped in regards to its participation at the upcoming Asian Games, which will be hosted by the South. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Sunday highlighted cross-border reconciliation through the sporting event.
Saying the Asian Games will be an important opportunity for the two Koreas to improve ties and alleviate distrust, he added sports are sacred and should not be used as a political bargaining chip for rebellious powers.
Pyongyang state media added North Korea has decided to send a delegation of athletes to the Incheon Asian Games from September 19th to October 4th. The North's apparent flip-flopping is thought to be its way of pressuring the South to return to negotiations. But the South isn't wavering.
If North Korea really wants to participate in the Asian Games and improve inter-Korean relations, it needs to show sincerity.
The spokesman added that the North is distorting the truth by blaming Seoul for the breakdown in last week's talks. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Japan has dispatched an official from its National Security Council to Korea for the first time since the country officially dropped its ban on collective self-defense earlier this month. An official at Seoul's foreign ministry said on Monday that senior official Takehiro Funakoshi will meet with officials at South Korea's foreign and defense ministries on this Tuesday, where he is expected to give a detailed explanation of Tokyo's push for collective self-defense and also seek Seoul's understanding on the issue. This comes just days after the two countries held nuclear talks and comes amid rumors of a possible ministerial level meeting next month.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
The leaders of Korea and Portugal held summit talks in Seoul on Monday, where economic issues topped the agenda. The Presidential Office of Cheongwade says the two countries signed 2 MOUs calling for increased cooperation in renewable energy and tourism. President Park Geun-hye and Portuguese President Aníbal Cavaco Silva exchanged views on how to increase bilateral cooperation in trade, investment and information technology, and also agreed to pursue joint ventures in Portuguese-speaking countries around the world. Now, Korea's 100 billion won club is growing. More than 450 venture firms posted sales of more than 100 billion Korean won, or roughly $97 million last year. That's more than 9% higher from the total number of companies on the list in 2012. Something the Small and Medium Business Administration chalks up to advances in technology and rising exports. The newest entrant into the club includes mobile messaging service KakaoTalk. The combined sales of the 454 firms on the list came to $98.5 billion. That accounts for more than 7% of Korea's GDP. Now, as the mercury rises in the summer, more and more people scurry indoors to the comfort of an air-conditioned movie theatre. And what better place to catch a movie than the Busan International Film Festival, otherwise known as PFAN. Park Ji-won reports on the genre movies on show that will spice up your filmic palette.
This is the 18th annual edition of PFAN, one of the nation's largest film festivals, along with others in Busan and Jeonju. But PFAN sets itself aside from the pack by being Asia's largest genre film festival, one that specializes in more diverse films ranging from fantasy and sci-fi to horror films.
I'm a big movie fan, and this is my 3rd time at PFAN. Although I'm not into thrillers, this film festival has its own unique attractions and colors, which is why I'm back again this year.
I'm a horror movie fan. I watch every horror movie I can find, especially anything Korean or Asian. So this is a good place to watch movies like that.
Film director Kim Seung-hyuk, whose thriller Nothing Lost made this year's World Fantastic Cinema section at PFAN, is thrilled just to be there.
It's an honor that my film is being presented in PFAN's World Fantastic Cinema section, which introduces the newest genre films. I used to be a big fan of genre films and never imagined my film would be shown here.
PFAN this year will feature 210 films from 47 countries. In its main competition section, 12 films are up for the Busan Choice Award. A melodramatic horror film from Argentina called Darkness by Day, and a Chinese film delving into the world of hypnosis called The Great Hypnotist are 2 being featured. And an American film, Time Lapse, is highly imaginative It's about a camera that takes pictures 24 hours into the future.
The list of fantastic film festivals begins in Europe. PFAN is similar in size to Spain's Sitges Film Festival, and we have amicable relations with them. This year we focused on discovering and introducing genre films from Latin America, China, and Southeast Asia.
Of the more than 200 films at the festival, 43 are world premieres and 68 of them are Asian premieres. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Time now for a look through the international headlines we're following on this Tuesday morning. For that, we turn to our Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. We begin in Gaza once again, where Israeli tank shells struck a hospital in central Gaza, killing at least 5 people and wounding some 70 others, including medical staff. Palestine's health ministry said they hit the 3rd floor, which housed operating theaters and an intensive care unit. The Israeli military said it was targeting a cache of anti-tank missiles nearby. It also said it killed more than 170 militants since launching its ground offensive last Thursday, including 10 fighters yesterday caught using tunnels to get into Israel. 7 more Israeli troops died on Monday, several of them when militants fired at their jeep after tunneling across the border. Meanwhile, 2 among the 13 Israeli soldiers killed in an ambush on Sunday were reported to be Americans. The Palestinian death toll has now well surpassed 500, a majority of them civilians. The UN says more than 100,000 Gazans have been displaced. And it's in this context that global concern is growing in regards to the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza. Thousands of demonstrators expressed their outrage against the Israeli offensive in cities stretching from London to Tokyo, Buenos Aires to Kashmir. This as UN Chief Ban Ki-moon and U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry are set to meet in Cairo today to push for an end to the bloodiest conflict between Israel and Gaza's Hamas rulers in just over 5 years. But no agreement is in sight. A top Hamas leader said Monday the group will not agree to an unconditional ceasefire with Israel, as Israel's defense minister promised to keep fighting as long as necessary. The U.S. Aviation Authority has expanded its existing bans on flights following the shoot-down of Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 over rebel-held regions of eastern Ukraine. The list of no-fly zones was extended to include skies over eastern Ukraine, the Crimea region, Libya, Iraq, and North Korea, effective late last week. The FAA also issued advisories for Syria, Yemen, and Afghanistan. Many analysts believe the Flight 17 deaths could have been prevented had there been an absolute ban on civilian flights over eastern Ukraine. Bolivia's President Evo Morales said he will expand coca production if he is re-elected to a 3rd term as the country's leader. While traditionally coca leaf is used in religious rituals, it can also be used to produce cocaine. Morales was re-elected the head of Bolivia's largest union of coca growers and said the country needs a new law concerning coca production. Current law allows nearly 30,000 acres of coca leaf to be grown for traditional use. One proposal would expand that figure to more than 49,000 acres.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, as the organizing committee for the Winter Games got the shocking news that their chief organizer has resigned from his post. Now, the 67-year-old Kim Jin-sun, who was in his second term as the head of the organizing committee, resigned from his post on Monday after a press conference. Now, he stated with the Winter Games less than 4 years away, the organizing committee needs new leadership and new changes in the preparations. Now, Kim was a former governor of Gangwon province and has been regarded as one of the most important figures in getting the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics bidding. And now over to some brighter news in the nation. Marine boy Park Tae-hwan, who's been competing at the national team trials in Kimcheon, won yet another event, earning a ticket to every event for the upcoming Asian Games in Incheon. Now on Monday, the 25-year-old Olympic medalist finished first in the men's 400-meter individual medley as he won his 6th event during the national team trials. With that, Park Tae-hwan earns a ticket to all 6 events for the Incheon Asian Games, including the 800-meter team relay. And no surprise here, he was also named the event MVP as he hopes to surpass 3 gold medals that he's won in 2006 and 2010 during the Asian Games in September. And now moving over to the South Korean national football team this time, as the Korea Football Association is currently going through a rough patch at the moment and trying to make some major changes to the association and the team. And with the first 2 A matches taking place on September 5th and 8th against Venezuela and Uruguay, the KFA stated that they might even go with an interim head coach, adding that they want to carefully choose their next permanent head coach. Meanwhile, with the KFA going through a change within the association as well, an official stated that a new technical committee director will be chosen in the near future. And now finishing things off in the KBO, later tonight, the league will begin the second half of the 2014 season. And with that, just like the KBO stated earlier in the month, the new video replay system will be implemented. And while the new video replay system will allow the managers to challenge disputed calls on 5 different plays, such as fair or foul, safe or out, and catch or no catch, the dispute must be made within the 30 seconds of the call or 10 seconds if the final out of the inning. But the managers have also proposed that the replay will be reviewed by the umpire who made the disputed call, the crew chief, a 3rd umpire on standby, and a KBO official overseeing the game. Meanwhile, if a call cannot be determined by the replay system, the disputed call will stand. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports news.
Good morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your weather update. Well, the baking heat is going to continue for southern provinces. High in Daegu is going to soar to 35 degrees Celsius. Can't imagine how hot conditions people in Daegu are going through for last couple of days. But for the upper areas, we have monsoon rain in the forecast from this afternoon, and it's likely to linger till tomorrow morning. So until then, mix of sun and clouds will stick around for the upper areas in the morning hours, while the southern provinces will have a good amount of sunshine. So it's going to be as hot as yesterday for the southern provinces, but we are going to notice much cooler afternoon highs for here in Seoul and the surrounding areas. So let's take a closer look at today's temperatures. Well, the morning low here in Seoul is starting out at 24. Then the high will rise to 29. That's 3 degrees lower than yesterday. While Daegu will climb to 35, which is similar to yesterday. And Gwangju and Busan will have a daily highs of 32 and 29 respectively. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju Island and Dokdo should see highs of 30. Daejeon should rise to 31, while Mount Kumgang tops out at 22. Well, if you're in the upper areas, be sure to gear up with the rainproof accessories. But if you're in the southern provinces, get ready for the heat. Well, that's all I have for you at this hour, and that's all for Korea. And it's time to take a look at the international weather for viewers around the world.
those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Korea Today is coming up in 30 minutes' time, and we'll be back throughout the day with more news updates. And I'll be back at 10 a.m. Korea time. Until then, goodbye.